Hello and welcome to race 2 of round 5 of the Spanish Formula 4 Championship in 2001, coming to you live from the Circuit de Ricardo Tormo in southern Spain, in Valencia. My name is Leo Gorman and it is fantastic to have you with us this weekend. We had the first race of the weekend yesterday, won by Sebastian Ogier. And it was a big win for Ogier, not just in terms of time. He took the race win by 10 seconds. It was also a race in which Delano van 't Hoff, the championship leader, registered his first non-score of the season. He had a bit of an incident while challenging for second place early in the race, which caused him to break a front wing and go for a pit stop. He finished in 20th, and it has brought the championship lead down a small bit. Not a huge amount, it is still excessive. The gap between van 't Hoff and Ogier in the championship standings, first and second, is still 93 points. But it will be a bit of a boon for Ogier that the championship leader has finally, after 5 rounds, shown some sort of frailty. Well, van 't Hoff, it must be said, blew some of those concerns away. He's scored pole positions for all 3 races this weekend. Qualifying 1 that set the grid for this race ran yesterday morning. That was his 9th pole position of the season. And this morning they had qualifying 2 to set the grid for this afternoon's race, and van 't Hoff scored another pole position. We had several penalties towards the end of yesterday's race. Notably, Enric Bordas, who had crossed the line in 3rd place, was given a 2-second penalty. That actually dropped him down to 5th in the standings. It was a fantastic battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in that race. And it actually brought... It confirmed a 1-2 for Campos. Marty, who did cross line 2nd, had Bordas just behind, but Maxim Arkanchelski, who was running in 4th, got promoted to 3rd, his first podium in Spanish Formula 4. And Suleiman Sanfari, who was running 5th late on, got promoted up to 4th. His best result in Spanish Formula 4 by quite a long way. This season at least, Bordas in the end coming home 5th. Solidifying his 5th in the standings really in the championship. And unfortunately for Bordas, the second-year driver beginning to fall adrift really of that fight for 2nd in the standings. But still some way ahead of 6th in the championship, Maxim Arkanchelski. But as we look towards this morning's race, this afternoon's race, depending on where you are, as I said, it is another pole position for Delano van 't Hoff. Sebastian Ogier will be getting away from 2nd on the grid. Now, this is critical yesterday. Ogier, it was similar yesterday. Van 't Hoff on pole, Ogier from 2nd. Van 't Hoff was slow away, and it allowed Ogier to launch straight into a lead from which he was unchallenged thereafter. Pepe Marti starts 3rd on the grid. Vladislav Ryabov starts 4th. Now, Ryabov, he started 4th yesterday, had an awful start, dropped down to 15th, but then climbed his way back up the order to 6th before an issue meant he fell back down to 13th. We see now Daniel Matzia, he'll be getting away from 5th, while Maxim Arkanchelski in the Drive-X School will be starting 6th. Then you got Denbal and Espirito Santo on row 4. Then Gilles Molina, Rick Cohen on row 5. Enric Bordas, poor start, poor qualifying for him, row 6 alongside Guillermo Oliveira. And then on row 7, you have Brandon Lee Oxley, who scored his best result of the season yesterday in 7th. And then Rabramski starting 14th. Then Philippe Genic, Alejandro Garcia 16th. Pinkasov, the rookie driver, 17th. Jorge Campos 18th. Alexander Partashev starts 19th. Anshul Gandhi in his first race weekend in Formula 4 starts 20th. George Kelstrup 21st. Sanfari, difficult to get a same result for him. He's starting 22nd. And Oliver Mitchell is 23rd. Lovenvoss starts 24th. And last on the grid is Emily de Hughes. This is, of course, times, the 2nd best times from qualifying 1 yesterday. Set this grid as we look at poleman van 't Hoff. It's another 2 points for him. Brings his total up to 232 for the season so far. Yes, as I was about to say, the grid for this race is set up with the 2nd best times in the first qualifying session. This race is 18 minutes plus 1 lap. It is a slightly different points structure as well, as we look at front row man Sebastian Ogard. But it is 15 points for a win here. Second, if you finish second, it's 12. The podium is rounded out with third, that's 10 points, and then 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, all the way down to 8th place. And as with the rest of the races for the weekend, the fastest lap will get you an additional point. As we look at the second Campos Racing Machine, that's Pepe Marti starting third. And on fourth on the grid, you can see the kind of bright green car there, Vladislav Ryabov. GRS are looking quite interesting this weekend. They've entered 2 cars for the first time this weekend, the other car being, of course, Anshul Gandhi, who's starting further on down the grid. That's his first ever car racing weekend. But he has tested quite a bit for GRS prior to debuting this event. And I suppose it works not just for the driver, but it works for the team as well. They're in a position to get more data, get more feedback with regards to the car. Whereas you have the likes of Campos have 4 drivers, MP Motorsport. I actually almost lost count of how many drivers they have this weekend, but I think it's like 7 or 8 on the grid. And it's a good opportunity for the likes of GRS to gain information. And really, that's one of the reasons, MP Motorsport have quite a lot of success. They run a lot of cars, they have a lot of feedback, a lot of data, and a lot of information to work from. And that is a very, very solid advantage for any team to have. MP Motorsport are actually running 9 cars in Spanish Formula 4 this weekend. Just needed a recount to confirm. 25 entries this weekend. It's a very, very good field, very full field. And a lot of young potential, a lot of good stars here. Van Toff, championship leader, it may seem obvious to say, is really the one to be looking out for. He's been so incredibly consistent this season, and up until yesterday, his worst finish of the season had been 4th, which he'd achieved twice. And that 20th in which he crossed the line yesterday, really blotting his record book somewhat. As we come now up to the final moments, the grid has been cleared. One last look back from the mechanics to the drivers and the cars. And we'll get away with the dummy lap to start this second race of the 5th round of the 2021 Spanish Formula 4 season. It's a very warm day, quite blustery. Not quite hitting the peaks of heat that we had yesterday. It's the late 20s in terms of Celsius, and the track temperature in the late 30s on my last read. It does seem to heat up quite a bit as we go through the day. So race 3 may be a far more telling prospect. We will probably see a lot of drivers on maybe their slightly older tires in this race. It is the shorter event. And occasionally, you would also see drivers who may be qualifying out of position will probably use their slightly older tyres for race 2 as well, and try and preserve their tyres for the races in which they had their best qualifying. So as drivers pull around this field, this tight and twisty Ricardo Tormo circuit, probably more commonly used for motorbike racing, it must be said. There's not much in lengthy straights around here. The longest straight, of course, being the run from the final corner Adrian Campos, turn 14, down into turn 1. But it is a 14-turn circuit, and a lot of it is actually quite low gearing. It's kind of mid to low gears, so not much in the way of medium speed or upper medium to high speed corners around the Ricardo Tormo circuit. See the cars just weaving, trying to get as much heat as possible into their Hankook tyres. And almost really a sense of getting themselves race ready. It's not necessarily, you're not really going to generate massive amounts of heat in the tyres by weaving on a track like that. It is a form of race preparation as such, as we see the front rows now pulling onto the grid. You've got Vantoff on the left-hand side of your screen. It's the red car with the black nose and the white number box. On the right-hand side of the grid, you've got Sebastian Ogier in the white car and the black nose cone. Just behind him, third on the grid to the left, is again Pepe Marti Ogard's teammate in the Campos car. Another white machine, black nose box, and fourth on the grid, he got Ryabov in the bright green machine. There is a yellow flag waving. Now we're getting the green. We are ready to go. The lights come off. And we're green. It's another sluggish start. Marti has stalled, but Ogard gets into the lead once again. Marti's eventually got away, but it was a slow start by Vantoff, and it has dropped him behind Ogard once again, a repeat of yesterday. And I do believe that's Mattia has gone into third place ahead of Ryabov. And we have a spin, and I think that's Arkachowski. And we've got a broken wing there. And I think that's Gilles Molina as well. We had a couple of incidents yesterday with a broken wing and an incident there already. So Ogard leads from Vantoff, Mattia, Ryabov in fourth, Rick Cohn in fifth place, Brandon Lee Oxley sixth. You don't really see, and it was one of the DriveX machines, and that is Brandon Lee Oxley taking a very strange line. And some damaged cars towards the back. There was someone else there with a broken wing, but I'm not entirely sure who that was. As you see, Brandon Lee Oxley under threat, under pressure there, but meanwhile it's Ogard leads. Vantoff is down in second place again, Matsia in third, Ryabov fourth. And Brandon Lee, I think he's struggling. He's gone flying off the circuit in the background there, and I wonder if he did pick up damage and all that melee. It'd be a shame if he has, if that is the case. Vantoff is tracking Ogard, race leader, as we come through the final section down onto the start-finish straight. Will he get underneath the rear wing of Sebastian Ogard in order to attempt an overtake? He is close, but is it close enough? Vantoff looks out, but not quite enough yet. He slots back in as we see some more overtaking. One of the DriveX school entries under pressure coming down the start-finish straight. And several drivers into the pits. It's not insignificant accident. I wonder actually in that if actually maybe Brandon Lee Oxley ran over some of the debris that was cast away from that incident. We do have another retirement early on in this race. The Espirito Santo is pulled into as one of the DriveX school entries. Straight into the pits. Race done. Ogard leads the gap. 0.6 of a second. He's got Vantoff just behind. Matsia in third. Ryabov still there in fourth. They're holding together. Rick Cohn has dropped behind a bit. He's 2 seconds behind Ryabov. And Vantoff's not letting this go. He's pushing, he's staying close to Ogard. That was one of the things with Ogard yesterday. He was able to draw away, and he helped a great deal The battle between second, third, fourth and fifth yesterday very much allowed him to escape and pull away from the rest of the field. So it was a not insignificant gap. I think it was one of the biggest race-winning gaps of the season. Certainly one of the biggest race-winning gaps I've seen in Formula 4 for quite a while. We'll see a battle here for Philippe Genic, and that is Dengball going down the inside. Does he take it? Yes, he does. Fantastic move for 8th place. Genic almost scared out of that position there. Dengball had a little bit of a sluggish start, but they're now regaining positions. Meanwhile, for those paying attention, Pepe Marti, who did start fourth, he's now down in 14th. He has regained a few positions. He regained a few positions amidst the all the contretemps that was happening on the opening lap. And he's made a few moves as well. Arkanchelski, after his incident, is currently residing in 18th position. He'll be very disappointed with that, having started 6th. And that is one of the rookie drivers, the debutant drivers for this weekend, with no front wing. That is Myron Pinkasov. It's only his second ever race. He turned 15 just a few weeks ago, and straight into making his debut with MP Motorsport. And they've I think they've stuck one of Rick Cohen's front wings on his car. Well, at least he'll be able to tell a significant difference from the rest of the MP Motorsport cars for the rest of this weekend, probably. But there's been a lot of crash damage. Well, actually, quite a bit of damage yesterday. There was several front wings went flying yesterday. And actually, in a sense, a little bit surprised we didn't get a safety car earlier on this race, given the amount of debris that must have been spread across the circuit. But maybe guessing that possibly there's debris but just sitting in the gravel or grass somewhere. As we look at, that is Philippe Genic, passed a few moments ago by Dengball. He is now under pressure from Alejandro Garcia. That's over 9th and 10th positions. There is a bit of a train forming behind Rick Cohen in 5th place. So Ryabov has claimed the fastest lap in this race, a 1 minute 34.2. Remember, it is an additional point for the fastest lap in this race. And he's not quite putting pressure on Matsuya yet. But it's an interesting scenario because you have 4 drivers up there and they're all generally within half a second of each other. No one's pulling away, no one's applying significant pressure. And I'll talk about debris. You can see the broken front ring line in the runoff area there. But no one is applying significant pressure to the driver in front. And I wonder if they're playing a waiting game, maybe hoping that these drivers or opponents will run out of tyre life before this race ends. As I said earlier on, a lot of drivers are probably more likely to put on used tyres for this shorter race so that they can have a fresh set or a fresher set for the final race later on. This is Abramczyk in 7th place, trying to keep Dengball at bay. Abramczyk in the red, black and white machine there, followed by Dengball in the kind of light blue and white car. Not been the easiest of seasons so far for Abramczyk. But making efforts, another driver making efforts is Delano Vanthoff. He is closing, he is beginning to put a little bit of pressure on race leader Sebastian Ogard. And Ogard is beginning to slide a little bit. He does look like a driver who's beginning to have maybe minor troubles, minor niggles with grip. He's not quite as confident as he would wish to be. And it's Vanthoff just waiting to make a move, waiting to put the pressure on, waiting to force his way past. It's hard to call a championship rival. Vanthoff does have a 93-point advantage over Ogard, who's second in the standings. But Vanthoff, he's a driver on the move. He wants to solidify this championship as quickly as possible. He wants to put it beyond absolute doubt, and he's had many performances this year of a driver who really does just want to absolutely solidify his F4 crown. He recorded his 10th pole position of the season earlier on this morning. It was the fastest lap last time around by Van't Hoff, a woman at 34.227. Van't Hoff has taken 5 wins so far this season and 5 other podiums. The only blips have been 2 fourth places and the 20th place he recorded yesterday. Of course, in a battle with Daniel Matzia, in which he broke his front wing off of Matzia's rear tyre, and it caused Matzia to fall out of the race as well eventually. Matzia in 3rd place. He's fending off Ryabov. Currently 4th, the gap between them, 4/10 of a second. The gap between Ågaard and Matzia, and Ågaard and Van't Hoff, I should say, is much closer. Ryabov's not going to make moves by throttling his car over the curbs like that. In terms of out-and-out pace, Ågaard is still holding a very, very, very solid run. His laps in the 1 minute 34.3s, 1 minute 34.4s. There really is a difference between hundredths of a second between those leading two at this point. They haven't dropped Matzia and Ryabov just yet, but the gap between Van't Hoff and Matzia is enough that Van't Hoff probably doesn't really have to worry as much, although Ågaard has just kind of pulled away slightly from Van't Hoff through this section of the track. You can see just a variety of lines coming through the corner. If Matzia pulling a little bit tighter towards the inside of the line, carrying speed through the middle of the corner on the exit, whereas you had the likes of Van't Hoff and Ågaard a little bit wider line on entry, bringing more speed on the entry of the corner and then tempering it as they go through the turning point of the corner and then onto the actual exit. Ryabov is very, very, very close to Matzia, and that's for 3rd and 4th place. He still can't quite make a move. Ryabov not concerned in any way, shape or form by what's happening behind. The gap between Ryabov in 4th and Rick Cohen in 5th is hanging around 3 seconds. But Matzia is being pushed by Ryabov to the point where he's beginning, not losing sight to Van't Hoff, but his concentration certainly isn't on the car in front anymore. The gap is 8/10 of a second now between Van't Hoff and Matzia. See Cohn going through, then he got Bordas, then he got Abramczyk, then he got Dengbol, then he got Jenik, then he got Garcia. And that brings you to the end of the top 10. 11th at this point is Alexander Partashev. This is his highest run of the season so far. He'll be hoping to maintain that. Jorge Campos is 12th. Pepe Marti's gained only another position so far. He's 13th. George Kelstrup 14th. Oliver Mitchell 15th. Zanfari 16th. Guillermo Oliveri is 17th. Arkanchelski down in 18th. Very disappointing event for him. Lovenfoss and De Hughes rounding out the top 20 in 19th and 20th position respectively. Van't Hoff now, the gap is 3 seconds, but he's close, but it's still not close enough. He's looking for a little bit more. He needs to be a little bit closer coming out of that final corner. As I said, it's not a huge amount of straights on the circuit. The only real straight here is from the exit of the final corner down into turn 1. And that means you have to really pressurize. It means you have to work very hard to try and make the driver ahead make a mistake. You've got to force them to make an error. And right now, Ågaard is not making any errors. He sees Van't Hoff there. He sees the Dutch driver tracking him. He sees the Dutch driver pushing and pressing. But he's not making a mistake yet. And the same in 3rd and 4th place. Matzia holding Ryabov at bay, while Rick Cohn has just set the fastest lap of the race by quite some way. So 1 minute 34.0, took half a second out of Ryabov that time around. But is it a little bit too late to be mounting some sort of a charge? There's only 4 minutes and 5 seconds plus 1 lap of this race left. is a lap that really kind of came out of nowhere for Rick Cohn, but he's not really got anyone in front of him to hold him up at this point. As they come across the start-finish line once again. 9 laps in the book. Ågaard leads half a second ahead of Vanthof. Mattia there in third. Mattia's closed right up to Vanthof. And Ryabov's fallen slightly behind. And Jorge Campos has had an incident somewhere. He is just falling out of the top 20. He's not showing as being in the pit, so I wonder if maybe he's had a spin or an off somewhere. So look at Mattia in third place, but Vanthof now pressing hard to Ågaard. The gap is, you can see it on your screen, it's just barely a couple of tenths. Ågaard really defending hard now, taking alternative lines to try and cut off Vanthof, but Vanthof tries the inside as they come close to the end of the circuit. Now the twisty bit. Vanthof, if he wants to make a move, he needs to stay close. The gap is just under 0.2 of a second, and he's going down the inside. Ågaard goes wide. Vanthof gets on the throttle as they come down the back section, but he's got the inside line. Vanthof makes a move to the inside and takes the lead of this race, but Ågaard is not giving up yet. He has the inside line, but he can't make it stick now. Mattia is going around the outside of Ågaard. He's going to try and go to Vanthof as well to take the lead, and he does! Around the outside, but can he hold in? No, Mattia goes off the circuit. Vanthof holds the lead this time around, then they come down to start-finish straight. Ryabov through in the third. Now we have Vanthof leading this race. Mattia right there, Ryabov in third place. Ågaard is falling behind already, and the three of them almost side by side, weaving through each other, and Mattia goes through on the inside to take the lead of the race. All three of them go flying off the circuit, come back on. Ågaard is suddenly back in contention. He takes third place from Ryabov. Mattia on the inside of free. Vanthof, they both go well off the circuit. Is Ågaard going to get on the inside of Vanthof here? He can't quite do it yet. He needs to actually check himself, pull out of that move. Rick Cohn, by the way, is joining this battle. And so it's all changed in the last just lap or so. And we see Ågaard go off the circuit, getting wheels on the gravel. It's cost him time. It's cost Ryabov as well, because Ryabov got checked up behind Ågaard. Now Rick Cohn trying to make a move for fourth, but he can't make it stick. Mattia leads, Vanthof second, but who's going to be third at the end of this corner? Ryabov goes around the outside, gets a little bit of a wobble, can't quite get the move made. They go side by side, they're going side by side through the chicane, and Ryabov makes it stick. Does he? He does! Fantastic move by Vladislav Ryabov, but here comes Rick Cohn on the inside. He's trying to take both of them at the same time, but he's not going to make that work. He's probably going to get Sebastian Ågaard. He does. That is Ryabov third now. Rick Cohn fourth, Sebastian Ågaard fifth, but Ågaard's not giving this up. He tries to hang around the outside. That's not going to work for him this time around. He's going to try it anyway. Doesn't quite come off for him. Rick Cohn slightly offline, trying to keep Ågaard at bay. Gives a little bit of breathing room to Ryabov as they come down to start-finish straight. Mattia comes across the line ahead of Vanthof. The gap is 0.6 of a second. Rick Cohn and Ågaard coming side by side down to start-finish straight. Ågaard is not going to be able to make the move there to actually regain a position, but Rick Cohn is now chasing very much after Vladislav Ryabov to get that podium position. He wants it, he demands it, he needs it. Sebastian Ågaard, fifth place. All he can do is keep a watching brief, really, but he's closed back up to the back of Rick Cohn. Rick Cohn lost a bit of time there through turns 1 and 2. This is the penultimate lap of this race. Mattia and Vanthof ahead in first and second place. They're beginning to check out somewhat. Ryabov has dropped a second and a half between the leading two, so the fight really is between third, fourth, fifth, and Bornas is there in sixth place, but I think it may be too late for him. Bornas in the green GRS entry ahead of Rick Cohn in the blue and white machine. Cohn in the MP Motorsport machine. Ågaard fifth place there in the Campos entry. Very, very different result for Campos. It had 1-2 yesterday. Well, at the moment Ågaard is in fifth and Marti down in, he's climbed up to 11th place. As we see, Mattia continues to lead, continues to stretch the gap ever so slightly to Vanthof. Vanthof's going to be incredibly disappointed by this if he takes second place, having led briefly, but at the same time I don't think he'll be too concerned, considering Ogard, second in the championship, Marty, third in the championship, are both quite a bit behind him. This is the final lap of the race. We have Mattia leading. Vanthof is second place. The gap is 7/10 of a second, but it doesn't look like Vanthof's going to be able to manage anything here. Ryabov, 1.5 seconds behind Vanthof. He's got half a second over Rick Cohn, but has he done enough to solidify this podium finish? If he can make it, it would be Ryabov's second podium of the season. He had a second place at the last round in Motorland Aragon. He currently sits 10th in the standings. This will be a big boon for him if he can get it done. Rick Cohn just behind. The gap is only 0.4 of a second, but he's not pressuring Ryabov anywhere near the way he was a few moments ago. In 5th place, Sebastian Ogard. He's going to be incredibly disappointed, having led much of this race. Now down in 5th position. Enric Bordas climbing all over the back of Ogard, but I don't think Ogard's going to worry too much about losing that position unless something goes drastically wrong. But meanwhile, it doesn't matter to this man out front. It is Daniel Mattia. The gap is 0.6 of a second, but I think he has enough in hand to take this win. It will be his first win of the season. Vanthof in second place. He'll be happy with that. Daniel Mattia finally takes the win. Ryabov third. Rick Cohn. Oh no, Ryabov he's dropped, so there must be a penalty. As is Dengbal, so Rick Cohn has been awarded the podium. Ogard fourth. Bornas fifth. Ryabov has been dropped down to sixth. Abramczyk 7th. Jenik 8th. Dengbal 9th. Garcia 10th. And Daniel Mattia, 5 podiums so far this season. 5 times he has finished second place, and he has finally converted that into a win. It's maybe not the boon you would get from race 1 or race 2 win in terms of points, but it is still significant, and I think it allows him to retake Pepe Marti in the point standings and brings him back to third in the championship. Well, fantastic last few laps, I'll tell you that. But that really was something of a slow burn, and really just waiting for the race to get going. As the marshals on the side of the circuit, they applaud the drivers going around, waving flags, thanking them for a great race, and the drivers, of course, thanking them for their service in this race. Although, to be fair, there's actually been not much in the way of incident in this race. We had a few squabbles on the opening lap, a few bangs here and there, and apart from a broken front wing that's been sitting on the runoff area of I think turn 6 for the duration of the race, there's actually not been a huge amount to report on. What I can tell you, as the drivers come into pits and line themselves in the Parc Ferme, Daniel Mattia wins. Delano Vanthof second place. Vladislav Ryabov crossed the line in third. He's not going to take third. Rick Cohn, then Sebastian Ogard, then Enric Bordas. Noah Abramczyk did cross the line in 7th. Noah Dengbal did cross the line in 8th. Philippe Jenik then did cross the line in 9th. Alejandro Garcia, a point for him in 10th. There has been post-race penalties applied, and I will tell you about them for certain when I have them. Well, Ryabov believes he's got third. And this, I think, happened yesterday, where Bordas crossed the line in third place, but had received a post-race penalty, and he pulled into Parc Ferme to celebrate. And I don't think there was any realization for a while that he had received a penalty. And I believe there may have been some discussion, because we actually ended up broadcast without a podium, so there may have been discussion upstairs. But I think Ryabov's going to find out in a few moments' time that he hasn't actually claimed a podium. And there is Daniel Mattia. Yeah, I'm getting a confirmation of a reworked result on screen now. And Mattia wins. I just get a bit of curiosity. The timing screen is giving me something other than... Yeah, actually, just as exactly. It looks like Mattia has been given a penalty as well. Van Hoff has taken the win. Mattia down to second, Rick Cohn third, Sebastian Ogard fourth, Enric Bordas fifth, Vladislav Ryabov dropped down to sixth, Noah Abramczyk down in seventh, Philippe Chenik eighth, Noah Dengball comes home ninth, Alejandro Garcia 10th. Just when you thought you'd know the result, it isn't. Pepe Marti did climb back up to 11th in the end. Good effort, but stalling at the start would be disappointing. Then Alexander Partashev, George Kelstrup, Oliver Mitchell 14th, then Zanfari 15th, Oliveri 16th. Good result for Lovenfoss in 17th. Arkin Kelski couldn't do more. He stayed down in 18th. De Hughes 19th. Gandhi 20th. Jorge Campos was 21st. Gilles Molina 22nd. Mira Pingasov was 23rd after he had a pit stop. And the non-finishers were Brandon Lee Oxley and Manuel Espirito Santo. Well, a thoroughly exciting race. And a few post-race penalties have changed the order somewhat. And I have to admit, a tad bit of confusion, as Delano Van Toff has been awarded the race win for race 2 here at the 5th round of the Spanish Formula 4 Championship 2021. Daniel Mattia has been classified second place. Rick Cohn is taking third. As a good result for Cohn. That is his second podium of the season. He claimed the third place at Algarve earlier on this season. Sebastian Ogard is promoted up to 4th. Enric Bordas 5th. And then Vladislav Ryabov will register as 6th place. So a fantastic race there. Very much a slow burner. Sebastian Ogard led for quite a bit of a distance. He'll be disappointed that his race began to kind of fall apart somewhat in the latter laps. But I do believe maybe his tyres just were pushed a little bit too hard and he fell down the order under pressure from Van Toff. And I wonder, does it have anything to... I don't see Ryabov doing... I don't really see what Mattia has done there that would warrant a penalty, unless it's some of these incidents of drivers going very far off the circuit in those last few laps. Would be my only consideration. But we will find out after the race and fill you in for race 3, I'm sure. But whatever that happens, this race win for Delano Van Toff, and Laura Martin in the pit lane is going to be talking to the man who crossed the line first,
sí,
Daniel Mattia.
Con el ganador en bandera, que al final acabamos de conocer ahora mismo, como bien sabíais, que por track limits es segundo, pero Dani, queremos conocer tu versión porque en cualquier caso has hecho un carrerón, has cruzado la meta en primer lugar y desde dentro no sé cómo lo habréis visto, pero desde fuera todo parecía igual.
Sí, no, yo creo que, bueno, me acabo de entrar ahora, yo creo que es un poco injusto, pero bueno, no voy a entrar más en detalles, ya hablaremos después. Yo creo que si iba yo detrás, estaba viendo a ellos que hacían incluso más que yo, entonces yo me he intentado mantener siempre por dentro. Después miraremos la soundbar, pero ya digo, si hay alguien que tiene que tener la sanción, yo creo que aparte de yo, ellos también, porque si lo hemos hecho todos, lo hemos hecho todos. Pero bueno, nada, yo me quedo con que he conseguido ganar la carrera. Ayer me viene súper bien esto, es una moral para la tercera carrera, entonces la he ganado en pista, que es lo que me cuenta, así que nada, muy contento y yo creo que esta carrera me pertenece a mí.
Pues vamos a estar muy atentos a lo que ocurre en la última y te deseamos la mejor de las suertes.
Muchas gracias.
And Daniel Mattia looking quite disappointed. And, you know, he's pulled into the Parc Ferme, pulled into the race-winning slot and has since been told that he did not actually win the race. He has been dropped down to second place in similar scenario, I believe, with Vladislav Ryabov, who pulled into the third place slot in Park Ferme, only to discover that he is in fact been classified down in sixth position. And so it is the sixth race winner of the season for Delano van 't Hoff. I believe the fastest lap did in the end go to Rick Cohn, who came home third after finishing fourth on the road. Enrico Bordas came home fourth, classified fourth, I should say. He'll be happy with that, I suppose, considering he qualified in 11th position. So a very good effort on his behalf. And Vladislav Ryabov, as I said, who crossed the line in third, was classified in sixth position. More points for Ryabov, but he has lost the podium. And they have the stewards have been very heavy on track limits so far this weekend. The qualifying sessions have been peppered with deleted times for drivers who've gone a little bit too far off in various sections and taken too much of an advantage. And I can only assume at this point we are seeing something similar in this scenario, where drivers being penalised with time penalties due to track limits. That is an assumption. Unfortunately, I don't have the messages popping up on my timing and scoring to confirm that. But given the number of penalties that have been handed out this season, or this weekend, that would probably chime with that. And so this really extends van 't Hoff's lead over Ågaard, as we see the next race being preparation for the next race. And yes, so this gives van 't Hoff an additional 7 points advantage over Ågaard, which brings the championship lead. That's, I'll need to double check this. So 15 for. So if Ågaard came home 8th, I do believe van 't Hoff now has a 100-point advantage. Or sorry, van 't Hoff has a 100-point advantage over Ågaard. Again, it was a significant lead coming into this weekend. The gap, van 't Hoff held a lead of 115 points over Ågaard prior to following qualifying yesterday, but is now back up to 100 points. Now we see the start again. Ågaard gets a very good start. Van 't Hoff once again sluggish away. Marty stalled slightly, but then got going. And it was a fight down the order. But the real battle, this is Arkanchelski getting battered. I think that was Gil Molina earlier on, losing a front wing, or Espirito Santo. That was Bordas taking a little bit of it, having a bit of a chunk taken out of him early on in the race. As we go to the podium now, and the three drivers on the podium, van 't Hoff in the middle step. And alongside him in second is the man who crossed the line first but is classified second. That is Daniel Mazzia, and the driver third on the podium is Rick Cohn. Celebrations, the Dutch national anthem ringing out for the race winner, Delano van 't Hoff. And two Dutch drivers on the podium, of course, Rick Cohn, as I said, taking his second podium of the season, his second, third place. That will bring him up to seventh, I think it's either sixth or seventh in the standings. See highlights from earlier on. There was battles down the field between Dengbal and Jenik. But it was really the fight up front that really kept us attuned the whole time. It was Ågaard leading from Vanthof from Matsia to Ryabov. First, second, third and fourth covered by less than 2 seconds for the vast majority of the race. And then later on, you could see Ågaard beginning to struggle about 2/3 of the way through the race. And eventually grip left him entirely. And this is really the moment that things began to fall away for the long-time race leader. Vanthof saw an opportunity as Ågaard began to struggle, came down the inside. Ågaard fought bravely to keep Vanthof behind, but Vanthof was not going to be held off by that. But it was this move, a fantastic move by Daniel Matsia to sweep down the inside of Vanthof just ahead of Ryabov to move into the lead. And Ågaard then found himself in a huge battle with Rick Cohen and Vladislav Ryabov. And eventually, Matsia maintained the gap over Vanthof, crossed the line first, but then took a time penalty, and Vanthof won. Thank you very much for watching Race 2 from Spanish Formula 4. Come back later on for Race 3 from Ricardo Torma and Valencia. Goodbye. Okay, thank you.